Most men wake up at age 50, look in the mirror, and realize they wasted their entire life chasing a ghost. Not a dream, not a goal, a ghost. A version of happiness they were told to chase by people who were just as lost as they were. And the worst part, the clock didn't stop for them. It won't stop for you. Look at what your generation's doing right now. Trading the most powerful years of your life, your 20s, your 30s, for cheap dopamine hits on a screen. For toxic relationships that drain every ounce of fire from your soul. For jobs you despise that pay you just enough to keep you too exhausted to question anything. You're sedated, comfortable, and comfortable is the most dangerous place a man can ever be. Here's the first lesson the Stoics tried to warn you about, and most men die without ever truly hearing it. Nobody is coming to save you. Not your parents, not the government, not some mentor who's going to appear out of thin air and hand you a blueprint. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth, and even he reminded himself daily that he stood alone in his own mind, responsible for every single choice. That weight isn't a burden, it's the only freedom you'll ever know. The moment you stop waiting for rescue is the moment your life actually begins. And then there's time. The second lesson hits different when you truly feel it. Time is the only currency you can't earn back. You can lose money and make it again. You can lose a job and find another. But that Tuesday afternoon you wasted scrolling, gone. The conversation you avoided with your father before he passed, gone. Seneca wrote, and I want you to burn these words into your chest. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. You are not running low on time because life is short. You are running low on time because you are spending it like a man with infinite reserves. You don't have infinite reserves. Feel that. Let it sit in your stomach like a cold stone. The third lesson is one that will save you from years of paralysis if you accept it right now. You suffer more in imagination than in reality. The conversation you're terrified to have, the business you're afraid to start, the life you're scared to demand. In your head, these things are catastrophic. In reality, the doing is always, always less painful than the dreading. The Stoics called this premeditatio illorum, the premeditation of evils. Face the worst case, name it, and watch it lose its power over you. Most men live their entire lives imprisoned by fears that never once came true. The clock is ticking, gentlemen. You hear it now. Now we go deeper. Because most men, even when they finally start working on themselves, make one catastrophic mistake. They build themselves for an audience. They lift weights so strangers will stare. They buy cars so coworkers will nod. They post their progress so people who secretly want them to fail will double tap a screen. This is the trap. This is where ambition goes to die, dressed up in designer clothes. And the fourth lesson is the one that breaks this entire illusion open. Other people's opinions are meaningless. Not worthless, meaningless. There is a difference. Marcus Aurelius sat at the head of Rome, surrounded by senators who plotted against him, crowds who cheered for him one day and cursed him the next. And he wrote in his private journal, for no audience at all, that a man who needs applause to feel worthy has already surrendered his freedom. If your confidence requires an audience, you don't have confidence, you have a performance. The fifth lesson comes from men who think they're strong because they react hard. Anger is a punishment you give yourself. Every time you rage at traffic, at disrespect, at the world not bending to your expectations, you are not demonstrating power. You are demonstrating that external events own you completely. Epictetus, a man who was literally enslaved, who had nothing by the world's standard, understood that his mind was a fortress no master could enter. He chose his responses. He owned his interior world while the exterior world did whatever it wanted. That is real power. And most men will spend 40 years convincing themselves that the man who yells loudest is the strongest in the room. He is not. He is the most controlled. And then there are the men, and you know them, you might be one, who max out credit cards to buy watches that cost more than their monthly rent, who lease cars they cannot afford to park outside restaurants they visit once, who buy expensive things to impress people who don't even like them. The sixth lesson is ruthless in its simplicity. You don't need more things, you need fewer desires. The Stoics called this apatheia, not apathy, but freedom from the compulsive hunger that the modern world has weaponized against you. Every advertisement you've ever seen was designed with one purpose: to make you feel insufficient so that you would purchase sufficiency. You were the product long before you were the consumer. Lesson 7. Write this one on the walls of your mind. Pain is guaranteed. Suffering is a choice. The loss will come. The betrayal will come. The failure will come. The grief will come. None of that is optional. But the story you tell yourself about that pain, the narrative you wrap around it, whether it defines you or develops you, that is entirely, completely, irrevocably yours to decide. The man who loses his business and calls himself a failure suffers for decades. The man who loses his business and calls it tuition builds the next one with scars that make him unbreakable. Same pain, completely different life. Your ego is your biggest enemy. This is where we end it. And I need you fully present right now, because the final 3 lessons are the ones that will determine whether you look back on your life with pride or with the hollow, devastating ache of a man who knew better and still did nothing. The 8th lesson is one modern men are completely allergic to. Silence is more powerful than shouting. We live in an age of noise. Every man with a phone believes his reaction, his rebuttal, his clapback makes him stronger. It doesn't. The man who goes silent when he is provoked, who lets lesser men exhaust themselves performing for attention, who chooses presence over performance, that man builds an authority that no volume can match. You were given 2 ears and 1 mouth. Even your anatomy is trying to teach you something. Lesson 9 is the culmination of everything the Stoics ever taught, compressed into a single truth that will reframe your entire existence if you truly absorb it. Your reaction is your only true power. Read that again. Your reaction is your only true power. Not your income, not your status, not who respects you or fears you or loves you. You cannot control markets. You cannot control other people's choices. You cannot control illness or accident or the cruelty the world distributes without fairness or reason. But your response, measured, intentional, chosen by a man who has done the inner work, that is the one domain that belongs entirely to you, from the day you were born to the day you leave this earth. Most men never claim that domain. They outsource it. They give it to their past, to their trauma, to whoever insulted them most recently. Do not be most men. And the 10th lesson, the one the Stoics return to above all others, the one that puts every other lesson into terrifying, clarifying focus. Memento mori. You could leave life right now. This is not dark. This is not morbid. This is the most alive thing you will ever hear. Marcus Aurelius returned to this truth constantly, that death is not the enemy of a good life, it is the architect of one. When you genuinely reckon with the fact that this moment, this breath, this heartbeat is not guaranteed to be followed by another, everything false falls away. The fake friendships, the wasted Sundays, the years spent building a life that looks impressive in photographs but feels hollow in the dark. Knowing these 10 rules is not enough. Any man can listen to this and nod. Living these rules, waking up tomorrow and choosing discipline over comfort, silence over reaction, purpose over performance, that is what separates kings from men who die wondering what might have been. Learn this now or regret it forever.